Okay, take two. Hi guys. I just tried to come live and I don't even think I was on for 2 seconds before I had to stop and go break up a fight. So hopefully everybody's settled enough for me to get in this quick live video. And if not, whatever, it's real life. You guys will see a little bit of real life in my home here. Anyway, welcome to the video. It is Workshop Wednesday. Every Wednesday I come to you guys live, talk about health, fitness, nutrition. I answer your questions. And if we haven't met yet, my name is Tara, and I'm a personal trainer, a health coach, a nutritionist, and a registered nurse. So today I want to talk about why your version of healthy eating may not be working for you, for whatever your goals are, / may not actually be healthy. And so I see this a lot of times. I see people talking, I hear a lot of chatter, so I might have to make this super short. I see this a lot with people talking about that they moved over to X diet and it's working for them, you know, whether it's that they wanted to lose weight and they're losing weight on this diet, or, you know, they had an autoimmune issue that is being cleared up because they went to the carnivore diet or keto or paleo or whatever, right? The only thing that you know, and I'm all for experimenting on yourself if it is within normal, right? If it is something that may actually be helpful for you. The only thing that you know if you tried X diet or you changed up this or that is how it worked for you in your body. So if you really want to frustrate me, tell me that you're doing something and then try to tell other people that that's the thing that they should be doing for themselves. Those are not the same things at all. And as a science geek, I'm really all about research, and sure, do your experiments of one for yourself. I'm all for that, and I do that for myself as well. But if you try X diet and it works for you, that does not mean that that's the thing that's going to be the best for the other person. Number one, our genetics are different. What we need is different. You know, just baseline nutrition needs are different, very different for different people. And then there's other things like, you know, personal preference. So some people can tolerate a ketogenic diet better, for example, because they just are not mentally as attached to those carbs as other people. So there's little simple factors like that as well that a lot of people don't take into consideration. So all that being said, if your healthy diet is about you attaching yourself to some sort of strict set of rules where you're like having to look up something to see if you're allowed to have it. This is the case for, I've had clients that do the blood type diet. So, you know, there could be a food like an avocado or tomato that they feel fine when they eat it. They know it's good for them, it's healthy, it's real foods, right? But they have to check in this book or on this website to see if it's allowed based on their blood type. Oh no, I can't have this. Well, have you ever noticed that you don't feel well when you eat those foods? No. Has anything in your blood work changed after you eat those certain foods? No, not that I've noticed. You know, and it's just a set of rules, and it's just so dogmatic. And to me, my personal opinion, obviously there's a lot of opinions here, but my personal opinion is that that is not healthy. Because when I think about health, I think about what things are doing to our bodies, sure, our physical health, but I also think about what it's doing to our, to our emotions, our mental health. And, you know, to me, if I have a food that tastes good, I think it's healthy, it's a whole real food, it has micronutrients there, you know, it works well in my meal that I want to cook. I'm not going to let a book on a blood type diet, I'm just picking on this one diet, but there's so many examples, tell me that I shouldn't have that food because I'm A positive or whatever. So I like to really take a step back and think of the big picture here. And I encourage you to do the same. So this can be for anything. If you, generally speaking, like paleo, keto, veganism, the carnivore diet is gaining popularity like crazy right now. You know, any of these types of ways of eating, they can be great for pulling you away from, let's say, what you were eating. If you were eating tons of junk food, fast food, right, and you're sort of going in the right direction. But if you go too far to the point where you then can't have something that's off plan ever, that's where people get into a lot of trouble. Hey, Swan. So Okay, exceptions to this, sure. If you are allergic to something, that might be a food that you can never have. And maybe you can eventually, but there's a decent chance that if you're allergic to something, you might not ever be able to have that thing. Okay, so that would be an exception, of course, where you should cut something out forever. There are other things along the road too that you might need to cut things out. You have sensitivities, you're working on healing your gut, for example, so you have to stay away from foods that are going to be inflammatory to your gut for a time period, hopefully with the idea that you can bring those things back on board. There may be things that you just don't want to consume because they bring no good value to your life. You don't miss having them, and they're just complete garbage. So an example that is coming to the top of my head right now is artificial food dyes. That's just a hard no for me and my family. My kids will not have any artificial food dyes. I do not have any artificial food dyes. There's no need for it. Thankfully, there are other safer alternatives, plant-based alternatives on the market that I can use to color food and make it fun. But if there were no such thing, I would either try to make it myself or I would avoid it, because there's actually no need to ever dye our food, right? So that's just an example for me. So that's a hard no for me. Will I ever feel deprived because I'm not having anything that has artificial food dyes? I will not ever feel deprived. That's just, to me, like a personal rule sort of a thing. So there are things that we're allergic to. There are sensitivities. There might be things that we're working on we have to eliminate in the meantime. There might be just things for you that you're not going to eat, right? You just find that it's not worth it. For example, the food dye. Then there might be things that are triggering to you. So, maybe if you have peanut butter in the house, you eat the entire jar and you cannot help yourself. So in the meantime, ideally, while you're trying to work on gaining back the control, you might have to leave that out of the house. That might be something that you want to remove temporarily while you're working on gaining back control of food and your body and all of those things before you can bring it back on, because it's a super triggering food. And maybe when you have almond butter in the house, it doesn't have that same effect. So you have almond butter, and you can have a tablespoon or two, but peanut butter you can't. So you make out that swap, right? So these are examples that I'm trying to show you for things that you might want to remove either forever or temporarily. But outside of that, there is, I hear somebody. Hello. You want to say hello to everybody? We're live. Come here. Outside of that, typically, when people are trying to make all of these kinds of rules, that is not typically healthy, usually more in the mental, emotional health side, and it's setting people up for failure. So it's not only just not healthy and doesn't feel good, it feels overly restrictive, and then maybe you have to worry about disordered eating patterns and things like that, but it also then is not a long-term plan. Because let's say you're on some kind of a plan where you're like, I'm not going to eat any ice cream, but you love ice cream. What's the long-term plan here? Like, so you're telling yourself you're going to be in a little box for 30 days or whatever, but all you've taught yourself how to do is to get results maybe when you're inside of that little box. You haven't taught yourself that when you have freedom, when you remove your own leash, how you can actually achieve your goals that way. So we need to be learning inside of the playground that we want to be inside of, if that makes sense. I don't want to be here all the time. I can get very good results in here, right? But that's not where I'm going to want to live my life. Most of my life, I'm going to have access to everything, right? Want a little bit of ice cream in my life, want this or that. And so if we're not allowing ourselves to practice and learn the skills needed to have all of those things around, we're not doing ourselves any favors. Right? So we're sort of teaching ourselves what to do when conditions are perfect and we've removed all temptations, but we're not teaching ourselves what to do when we want to let a little bit of that in, so we can actually find the balance. I want to know how much ice cream, I can't have dairy, so for me it's dairy-free ice cream, but I want to know how much ice cream, I can work in and have some fun with, and also not, have to have it every single night. I want my body to be able to tolerate a little bit of that stuff, and he's showing you kitchen tools. This is great. I want my body to be able to tolerate some of that stuff. I want to know what its limits are. I want to know what my mental limits are. I want to work on my own, my discipline, and have a little bit of fun with my food at the same time. So If you're overly restrictive, this is for you if you are like, I need to try paleo, I need to try keto, I need to do this. If you're always trying to put yourself into a box and finding that it doesn't work and you're jumping from box to box to box, this video is really for you. How about considering the fact that you can eat things in moderation? I know we hear that term all the time, and some of us probably want to roll our eyes at it, but you can eat things in moderation. You have to learn to do it, though. You have to learn to trust yourself, and there are skills to build up in order to be able to do so and not blow your goals. You can, if ice cream's your thing, have ice cream in your life and still feel better, feel healthier, more fit, and stronger than you ever have in your entire life. You will need to find where that balance is, and it's probably not going to be every single night. It probably can be more than once a year, though. So where is that balance? You need to find that for yourself. And so when you eliminate these things completely and you put yourself in a box that you can't stay inside of for very long, you're not actually working up the skills to be able to know what that balance is for you. So I'm saying it's not healthy to do that mentally. And I'm saying it's not even working. Because if you're jumping from box to box, what that means is that you think that paleo doesn't work for you, and this one doesn't work, and that one doesn't work. But really what it is it's so restrictive that you are not actually doing yourself any favors. So how about trying to eat more real whole foods, maybe even leaning towards one of these ways of eating. If you find a certain way of eating that makes you feel great, you have tons of energy, you feel amazing, maybe that is sort of paleo-ish or keto-ish or, calorie cycling or whatever. Veganism, whatever makes you feel really great. If you've experimented with it, maybe lean towards that, but allow yourself a little bit of space where you don't feel like you're in a box, where you don't have to Google every food to see if you're allowed to have it. It's food. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be nourishing, both body and mind, and it's not supposed to be something that we spend so much of our energy and time like worrying about. Just enjoy it, right? That's what all of this is about. So for a little while, you might have to pay more attention to it. If you're not as far along in your goals as you'd like to be, you might have to put a little bit more attention on it. It's not going to be second nature to you just yet. But eventually, hopefully you get to the point where you're not having to think about it too much. You're not weighing anything, counting anything. Thankfully, that's me right now. I have come past my goals. I used to have PCOS and pre-diabetes, and I've overcome those. No meds, no special supplements. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of experimenting and seeing what worked for my body. But now I'm at the place where I don't weigh a darn thing. I don't count a darn thing. I don't even have all my meals planned out or anything. I'm not, I just want freedom around food. And so I've gotten myself to a point where I have freedom around food. So it's not my every thought. I move my body, I nourish it well. I'm sure sometimes I go over the calories that I need. I'm sure sometimes I make it up on the other end and I have a little bit less. It just sort of works out that way because now I just pay attention to my own body. If you are really strict with yourself about what you eat and what you're allowed to eat, that is probably the very thing that is making you trip up every time. Once we relax that, we stop focusing on it so much and we allow other things to come in and we try to forget all of those things that have been pounded into your head probably since you were a little child about carbs are bad, avocados are fattening, all of those things, those labels that have been put on foods. I've had clients tell me that they've been on so many different diets that basically every food is considered bad because on one of these diets or another, you were told that food was bad. No food is bad. Just look at it for what it is. Avocados are not fattening. They have fat. We need fat. We need that for our hormones. We need that for our brain. Avocados are an excellent source of fat. So instead of looking at an avocado and saying this is fattening, no, an avocado is a great source of fat. Maybe that's the source of fat that I want for this meal right now. Carbs, they're not bad. You can certainly overdo it. You can overdo it for your body. You can overdo it for your activity level. If you're not moving your body, you will not have a lot of tolerance to carbs. But if you're exercising and you're working those muscles, you will have, in general, a greater tolerance to carbs. So know when to time those out. Know what a good portion size is. Know when those portion sizes should come, in terms of your schedule for when you're moving, when you're active. And from there, you'll just start to fall into a rhythm and not have to count things. I know this is pretty general. A lot of these videos that I do are general because I can't give you specific advice, but I'm always happy to answer you very specifically. So if you have any questions and you want to leave them here in the comments, or you want to private message me, I'm always happy to answer you on a more individualized basis. I hope you guys have a great day.